Deep dives and blue skies. Welcome back to Talking Blue with Nick, the best Dodgers analytical podcast that you can find.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Talking Blue, the best Dodgers analytical podcast that you can find. I am your host, Nick. Today you are listening to episode 84 of Talking Blue, and we're keeping it rolling with the player previews that I've been doing, 2026 preview. Today, we're talking about the position players, the full lineup, the full defense, the bench, all that stuff. Everyone that will be on the roster, everyone that has a chance to be on the roster. We'll talk about all those guys in this podcast today. So before we can get started with that, as always, you can get this podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, subscribe to the YouTube channel at Talkin' Blue Pod, turn on the notifications so you don't miss any of the new videos dropping. Follow us on all social media at Talkin' Blue Pod, X, TikTok, Instagram. You can follow us as well on Reddit at competitive-week8715. You can follow myself on social media on X at Talking Blue Nick if you like to follow Dodger people and if you want to hear more Talking Blue stuff, more Dodger stuff. Like I said, I will have a new podcast coming out soon. That I'll have more updates on that, but it will all be underway before opening day, which is a week from today, actually, at the time of this recording, March 19th, Thursday. Opening night is next week, Wednesday, Yankees Giants, and then opening day will be on Thursday afternoon, of course. So, like I said, today we're talking about the players, position players. Last time I left you guys, I forget if it was before the WBC championship or afterwards, but anyways, USA lost to Venezuela, so all the Dodger players have reported back. They are back in Arizona, finishing out the final week of spring training. The last time I left you as well, I did talk about Shohei Ohtani and when we'll see him on the mound again. Of course, right after that podcast, it was announced he was going to start Wednesday against the Giants, which he did. He went 4 1/3 innings pitched. He looked very good. It was really encouraging to see that in his first start of the spring, his first pitching appearance, that he was able to go that many innings. So that does line up with what the Dodgers what they were previously talking about, was getting Shohei ready to pitch 3 to 5 innings once the season starts. So I would imagine that he gets one more start, which will probably be at Dodger Stadium next week against the Angels in the final little ramp up before spring training, and then his first start of the season would probably come at the very end of the first week of the season. So maybe that's Sunday or then the following week, Monday or Tuesday, something like that. So that's really good to see from Shohei. He looked really good. The velocity was great. I think he averaged a little over 97 miles an hour. So that's really good. So let's go ahead and waste no time. Position player preview. Like I said, everybody on the roster. I'm going to go in order from like catchers, infielders to outfielders. That's how I'll do it. But, of course, the first guy that we got to talk about, who is none of those position he doesn't play a position because he's a DH, Shohei Ohtani. That's what we're going to start with. The best player on the Dodgers, the best player in the game. He is the best player in the game. He's not the best hitter in the game, like I said, because that is Aaron Judge. But Shohei Ohtani, given what he does as a two-way player, and he's the best player in the game. So, there's not much to talk about Shohei, of course, because he's amazing. But what I have on my computer is he will win his 5th MVP in 2026. I firmly believe that. Now, I'm not going out on a limb or going out on an edge. I'm not breaking any news picking Shohei Ohtani. He's won the last 4 MVPs, or I think he's won 4 of the last 5. Forget the crazy number, but he's won. He has 4 MVPs. I think he's going to get his 5th. He's only the second player in baseball history to have more than 3. There are multiple players that have won 3 MVPs, like Aaron Judge now, as well as Mike Trout, Alex Rodriguez. There was a couple other guys. The only other guy to win more than 3 is Barry Bonds, who has 7. So Shohei is going to do everything in his power to track down Barry. I don't know if that he'll ever get to 7, but I definitely think he's got a shot to get to 5 or 6. And as long as he's able to do this two-way stuff, it always is. It's always a possibility. So, I talked about this a little bit before in my pitching preview, talking about Shohei. He's going to have less pitching restraints on him in 2026, which is really fun. We're going to get to see, as much as as close as we can get to a full season of pitching with him. Of course, I don't think he'll ever pitch like 180 to 200 innings in his career, maybe not even close to that. But 130 to 140 to 150, I think is within the realm of possibility. Again, why I think he's going to win his fifth MVP, summed up quickly, is that less pitching restraints, which means he's going to pitch more innings, and he's basically a lock to hit 40 home runs, and I'm being kind with the 40. Because if you were to ask me how many home runs do I think he's going to hit this year, I would say 50 again, because I think he's the second best hitter in the game. He's hit 50 home runs the last 2 years, 55 and 56. I think he's going to hit 50 again, have very similar numbers. Since the start of 2021, again, he isn't the best hitter in the game, but these are the numbers that prove why he is the second best hitter in the game. In 2021, since the start of 2021, he is second to Aaron Judge in Major League Baseball in all of these categories. Slugging percentage, 606, OPS, 990, weighted runs created plus 165, and home runs, 233. The only person who has better numbers and more home runs than Shohei Ohtani since 2021 is Aaron Judge. Okay, so he's the best hitter in the game, and he is a very elite pitcher when he gets the chance to pitch. And then the last thing, I'll sum it up. Again, why I think it's going to be not easy that he's going to win his fifth MVP, but at some point, like, someone's got to take the MVP away from Shohei. At some point, he's going to have to stop winning MVPs. He's got 4 MVPs, and really in the 2020s decade since it's began, he's just had a chokehold on the MVP award. Him and Aaron Judge, but Shohei's got one more than him. And the main reason to that is because of this two-way stuff that he does, and he's just so unique, and it's very hard to pick anyone else over Shohei when he's doing something that nobody else is doing. And 2024, when he won his third MVP and his first with the Dodgers, he obviously won that MVP without pitching. The first full-time at DH to win an MVP. He won that because of the 50-50 stuff that he did. Hitting 50 home runs, stealing 50 bases, the first player to ever do that in baseball history. That's why he was able to win that MVP without pitching. That was a year for someone else to get the MVP. That was a year for anyone else in the National League to get a chance to win an MVP. Maybe even Mookie Betts could have, if he didn't get hurt that year. And then when he went back to pitching last year, again, it was just an easy... if he put up the same offensive numbers and then again pitched, how is he not going to win MVP? So again, it's the same idea here. He's going to be doing the same thing, although he's going to have less restraints on him, and he's going to pitch more innings. How is he not going to win MVP? I don't really know how. After this MVP that he'll win, I think, his fifth, which will be his fifth, it could get harder from that point going forward, because at that point it's going to be like the writers who are voting for Shohei. I'm not going to say they have writer's fatigue, but at that point it's going to be like, all right, well, he's doing this every year. We got to give the MVP to someone else at some point. But this is going to be another MVP that, when he goes out there and pitches and he goes out there and he puts up the crazy offensive numbers, it's going to be almost impossible for someone to take away the MVP from him. Not impossible, but it's going to be close to it. So that's all I have for Shohei. He's a joy to watch. It's going to be, again, just going to be even more exciting to see him do more and more things in 2026, and we'll see what he has in store for us in his third year with the Dodgers. So now we'll go in order in terms of position players. We'll start with the two catchers. Will Smith, the second best catcher in the game. You can't put him above Kyle Raleigh because of what he did last year. And it's funny because Will Smith, ever since he's debuted in 2019, he's always been like the second or third best catcher in baseball. Because when he broke in 2019, obviously he was very young. By the time like 2020, 2021 came around, and he was at that point a proven young catcher that was elite offensively, and his defense had been getting better, JT Realmuto was still like the best catcher in the game, best all around, a great offensive catcher that also plays elite defense. And then as JT Realmuto has begun to get a little bit older, there's been this position has gotten very strong with guys like William and with both the Contreras brothers, specifically. I'm blank. I forget. I think it's William. William Contreras with the Brewers. Wilson Contreras is the one that was on the. He's now a first baseman with the Red Sox. There are a lot of other guys in the league that have made the position really strong. And then, ironically, the year that Will Smith has his best year, which he had in 2025, Cal Raleigh had arguably the best catcher offensive season for a catcher ever, hitting 60 home runs. But Will Smith. Granted, he's in the middle of his prime, and he's a joy to watch. Elite plate discipline. He's in the 96th percentile in chase percentage and walk percentage. So he's got one of the best eyes at the plate, and it leads to a lot of walks, and he doesn't swing out a lot of bad pitches out of the zone. 973 OPS with runners in scoring position in 2025. That was one of the best in the game. Now, what I have on my list is a regression is possible, but that's not bad because, again, he had an OPS, Will Smith, in 2025. Like I said, he had his best year. He had really elite numbers. I'm just waiting for my computer right here. He had, that's Will Smith, the pitcher. I'm not looking for that Will Smith. I am looking for Will Smith, the catcher. Excuse me. He had a 901 OPS in 2025, which is elite. I don't think he's going to do that again in this season. So that's why a regression is possible, but he's still going to put up really good numbers. I still think an OPS over 800s is not a lock, but it's looking good that will happen again, especially with the great on-base numbers that he's always going to have. I would like to see him hit a little bit more home runs. I think he only hit 17 home runs, I think it was. But that's because the Dodgers really controlled his playing time last year. They really leaned into using young Dalton Rushing so he could get him off his feet so he didn't catch a ton of innings. So that's part of the reason why he only hit 17 home runs. I'd love to see him get into that 20-25 range. But at the end of the day, he is one of the best offensive catchers in the game. Like I said, he's the second best catcher in the game. He's a great thrower from behind the plate. He doesn't really frame well. At least the numbers don't bear that out. But we're going to see the new ABS system this year with challenging the strike zone, challenging pitches. And a lot of the framing stuff might get taken away from catchers. So Will Smith, he's a joy to have on the team. We'll go to his backup, his partner in crime, Dalton Rushing. I'll be honest. I expect big things from Dalton Rushing in 2026. He's a great backup catcher to have, but maybe unfair, question mark, is what I have on my computer. And what I mean by that is Dalton Rushing was a legit top prospect in 2025. He's been a legit top prospect for a couple years now, who's put up great numbers in the minor leagues. And I think that if this guy was any team's starting catcher going into 2026, that team would be very excited to have him. And I think that he has all the tools to be a really, really good catcher at the big league level. It's just that what's a little unfair to him is that he has to back up Will Smith. And it's almost like, rightly so, he's not really going to get a chance with the Dodgers, at least for a few years, to really be a full-time catcher, to be a starting catcher. So I wonder at some point, I've always wondered, since Dalton Rushing got the call I think it was last May, if the Dodgers will ever consider trading Dalton Rushing, because it's almost like unfair to him, because I really think that he has a lot of things that could make him a really good catcher. Great plate discipline. He does not chase very much out of the strike zone. Now, he has a ton of swing and miss concerns. He did hit a couple home runs so far this spring, but I think he's got a batting average under 200. He has struggled a little bit. He's always going to be a guy that swings and misses a lot, but the power is there. And he also is a pretty good defensive catcher. He's a great thrower from behind the plate. He's got a strong arm, and he's very quick. And it should be fun to see him play twice a week. And the Dodgers, from the Dodgers' perspective, they might look at it as, hey, using Will Smith in lesser a lesser role than we have in the past led to a great offensive season from him, because the 2 seasons prior, Will Smith kind of fell off really hard in the second half, getting a little dinged up. Obviously, the catcher position is the most demanding physically in the sport. And they might look at it as, hey, we got a young guy who has a lot of talent, who can help relieve Will Smith and keep him fresh throughout the year. And then, keep him ready come September to get ready for a postseason push and have him be in there every day. I could see the thinking there. I just feel like from Dalton's perspective, it could be a little bit unfair that he really should be on a team where he could get the chance to be the everyday catcher, or at the very least be a platoon with somebody. But again, you're not going to get that with Will Smith because he is the second best catcher in the game. But I expect big things from Dalton Rushing. I think there's a reason why he was a top prospect, because he has a lot of tools, the power, the plate discipline, he's actually an even better catcher than I thought. I thought there was a chance a couple of years ago that he was going to end up being like a guy that gets moved to the corner outfield spot, DH, first base. But he showed last year, especially to me, he showed that he can definitely be a catcher in this at the big league level. And we'll see what the future holds for Dalton Rushing. You don't always have to make trades. You can definitely wait things out as an organization. You don't have to rush to make trades. But I just think it's a little unfair because I think he's got a great future at the big league level. So we'll see what happens with Dalton Rushing. But like I said, I think it should be fun to see him play 2 to 3 times a week. So we'll keep it moving. I don't want to go too long with every player because we do have a good amount to talk about. We'll go to Freddie Freeman, the Dodgers first baseman. Year 5 of Freddie Freeman already. Isn't that crazy? We're already in the 5th year of Freddie Freeman as a Dodger. Second to last year of his 6-year contract. He is getting up there in age. Freddie Freeman is not a young man anymore, and he's definitely closer to the end of his career than he is, the middle or the beginning or whatever. But 36 years old, so he is officially in his late 30s. And it's kind of funny that it doesn't feel that long ago that all that madness happened with Freddie Freeman coming over in 2022, all that drama, leaving the Braves. That was also the year that there was a little bit of a lockout situation with the collective bargaining agreement. Second to last year on a 6-year deal. He did say at the, sometime in the offseason at one of those like fan festival things that he does want to finish his career with the Dodgers. And I think he wants to play till he's 40. So that would be like 3-4 more years. So hopefully the Dodgers are able to get something figured out at the end of his contract. But again, we still got 2 more years at the very least of Freddie Freeman. Since Freddie Freeman has put on a Dodger uniform, I just want to give you the OPS leaders in that time. Aaron Judge is 1. Shohei Ohtani is 2. Yordan Alvarez is 3. Juan Soto is 4. Freddie Freeman is 5. He's been a top 5 hitter in the sport since he's put on a Dodger uniform. There's actually a lot of numbers that you could look at that would point to him being better in his Dodger career. Obviously, it's a much smaller sample size as compared to the Atlanta Braves, but he's just been a joy to watch. It's you knew that he was going to be good when he signed with the Dodgers, but it's kind of crazy to think that it's turned into this world where he's actually been better than you could have even expected, especially when you consider the epic moments he's had in the postseason as a Dodger. It's just what an incredible contract and what an incredible situation that turned out to be. Now, what I have on my computer when it comes to 2026, confused on if we could see a drop-off in production from Freddie Freeman or an increase. Because you're obviously at a interesting spot with Freddie Freeman, given the fact that he's 36 years old and given the fact that his first couple years with the Dodgers, he set the bar so high in terms of how good he was offensively. Like I said, 2023, he had a 977 OPS. That is crazy. 2024, 854. 2025, 869. So the OPS definitely came down, but again, those are still like of the best, numbers in the game. And 2025 was a little bit of a weird year for him, given the fact that the first 2 months of the year, he was incredible. He was hitting like well over 300, OPS close to 1,000. From the months of June and July, the following 2 months, he had like two of the worst months of his career, especially in the month of, I think it was June. He was like it was almost concerning how bad he was. But like I said, he was so amazing the first 2 months. Then the following 2 months of the season, August and September, he was very good again. Not as good as he was in the first 2 months, but he was very good again. And what it really just shows at the end of the day, that's what a big league season entails. You're going to have hot stretches, cold stretches. It really is just, how does it even out in the end? So he did have some whiff numbers and strikeout numbers that did, fall off a little bit, which are not like his career norms. But all the expected numbers, hard hit numbers, barrel numbers, still walks, there's really nothing that will point to a fall off. The only reason that he could fall off, honestly, is just that his age, and it comes quick when you're that old. Especially your bat speed could fall off, the power could be zapped. Which Freddie Freeman's never been a guy with massive power, but in his Dodger career, I think he hit 22 home runs in 2022. Then it goes 2023, 29 home runs, and then 2024, 22 home runs. Last year, 24 home runs. So he's never really been like a perennial 30-homer guy, especially since he's been a Dodger. But he's always had incredible batting average and on-base skills with, what the slugging that he does bring to the table is that he hits a ton of doubles with a decent amount of home runs. But then what I also have, it's a little conflicting. We may be in store for an underrated but amazing season for Freddie Freeman because, again, he's going to be hitting fourth, maybe even fifth in this lineup. And if a couple things come to fruition with what I think Kyle Tucker is going to do, we'll get into that. What I think Mookie Betts is going to do, we'll get into that. And what I almost know what Shohei is going to do, there's another side of it where Freddie has an even better season than he did a year ago and is kind of like an underrated, amazing year. Again, you never really know how it's going to play out. But he does have an OPS over 1,100 in spring, which spring training numbers, like I said, don't really mean much unless you're like a guy who's trying to make the team. But he has said in a couple interviews, and I think Dave Roberts also said his swing looks amazing. So we'll see. I'm confident Freddie's going to be great once again. So we'll keep it going to a couple guys who all are in that second base infield / platoon role in a way. Ha-Seong Kim, Tommy Edman, Miguel Rojas. We'll start with Ha-Seong Kim. I'll be quick with a couple of these guys to keep it moving. Has to show me something offensively, and that is Ha-Seong Kim. Now, I do want to say that as a Dodger fan and as someone, this is a podcast about the Dodgers, we're going to always have like a strict opinion and, strict feelings as opposed to what we need offensively to see from a guy to have him in the everyday lineup. Because, Ha-Seong Kim, there's a good chance, let me just say this, that he's not going to be an above average hitter in 2026. And so, of course, when we see that as Dodger fans, we're like, oh, we can't have him in the everyday lineup. Every year, you can go and look at postseason lineups. I'm not even talking about bad teams, average teams. Postseason lineups, teams that make the playoffs, where you have everyday guys in the lineup who are below league average hitters. Okay, the starting shortstop for the World Series Blue Jays last year, who mostly played second base with Bo Bichette, but Andres Jimenez was a below league average hitter, and he was an everyday player for a very good offensive team. So it doesn't mean that Ha-Seong Kim can't bring value to the team if he's not an above league average hitter. But he's got to show me something offensively because even though he hit 280 last year, the on-base and the slugging numbers were very bad, and it led to a 699 OPS. And a lot of his underlying metrics even say that he kind of outperformed a lot of his struggles. Like he chased at a very bad rate, swung and missed, struck out at a very bad rate, didn't make a lot of hard contact. Like he kind of didn't do anything that leads you to believe that he can be a good offensive player this year. Now, again, he is very fast, very athletic. He has a lot of speed, and he is supposed to be a very good defensive player. He doesn't really have a lot of outs above average or defensive run saved numbers to look at in his young career because he's hasn't played a ton and he has played all over the place a little bit. If he played every day second base, I think he would be a pretty great defensive second baseman. And so what I have on here is show off the tools in Tommy Edman's absence because he's going to get a chance to play some second base. I don't think it's going to be every day because Miguel Rojas is going to be in there. But he's going to get a chance to play some second base. He's going to get a chance to be a utility guy, play some outfield, show off the defense, the base running, the versatility, like I said, playing second base, playing center field. Show off the athleticism. Don't be afraid to be a pest. So don't be afraid to be like one of those players that you see like an annoying guy to have on the other team, like taking the extra base, being, creating chaos on the bases, playing good defense, working the count, fouling pitches off, putting the ball in play, being like that very old school 9-hitter. Don't be afraid to be a pest. But you got to show me something offensively. You got to show me some kind of skill. A low strikeout rate, a low chase rate, something like that. And if you could pair that with your great defense and base running ability, I can get excited for Hae-Sung Kim being the 9-hitter and being my second baseman. But you got to show me something because a lot of the underlying metrics were not good last year, and the Dodgers showed that they didn't really believe in him a lot because he didn't play at all in the postseason. So he's gonna get a chance in Tommy Edman's absence. We'll see what he does with it. The next guy we'll go to is Tommy Edman, who, like I said, is going to miss about the first month of the season, first 3 weeks. By the time mid-April comes around, he should be back in the Dodgers lineup. I got two important tasks for Tommy Edman to do in 2026 when he comes back. Number one at the top of the board is get healthy, get that ankle healthy, because he's had a lot of ankle issues in his career. Tommy Edman's been in the big league since 2019 when he broke in with the Cardinals. And he's had multiple years of ankle issues, and he's dealt with a lot of it since he's been a Dodger. Okay, so the number one thing I need Tommy Edman to do is get healthy, get that ankle healthy. The number two thing I need you to do is get back to hitting left-handed pitching. Okay, in 2025, his OPS versus left-handed pitching was .694. In his career, he has an .809 OPS versus left-handed pitching. That's very good. As a switch hitter, obviously he's going to get most of his at-bats versus right-handed pitching, and he's going to hit left-handed. But if you could be a league average bat against right-handed pitching, maybe even slightly below, but you can get back to crushing left-handed pitching, that's where you can bring a lot of value. Because like Hae-Sung Kim, Tommy Edman can bring a lot of value in other ways. His base running, his defense. I mean, last year playing with his ankle issue and playing second base and shortstop and also time at third base, 96th percentile on outs above average. So he was an elite defensive player last year in multiple spots. And he doesn't strike out and whiff a ton. So he has a lot of things that he can bring to the table, but you got to get back to hitting left-handed pitching because outside of April last year, he was a putrid offensive player. Did not do a lot. So I've always thought there's a lot more in that bat to tap into, but he's got to be healthy because it's very difficult for him to bring value to the team when you're a speed guy, a defense guy, a versatile guy, and I think there's more in the bat. It's hard to bring a lot to the table when you're dealing with these ankle issues and you're kind of limited. So Tommy Edman, get that ankle healthy, get healthy overall, and get back to hitting left-handed pitching, and I think that you could be a very valuable player for the Dodgers in 2026. So the next guy we'll go to, the next guy who's in this second base utility role, Miguel Rojas. And one of the things that I have at the very top of my list for Miguel Rojas, enjoy your farewell season, Miggy Ro. I don't know if it's been 100% confirmed that this will be his last season at the big league level, but for whatever reason, there is a belief that is the likelihood, and I do think he took his obviously he is I think is Miguel Rojas 37 years old. Miguel Rojas is 37 years old. He signed the 1-year deal, and he signed it pretty early in the offseason. A lot of people think he's going to go into the Dodgers organization, be a coach, do something in the front office. We'll see what that happens down the line. But it's been an extremely he's been an extremely valuable bench player the last 2 years. And really ever since he's been a Dodger, ever since 2023, he's done a lot of really good things, but the last 2 years. So in 2024, he had a 110 weighted runs created plus, so he was 10% better than league average. And there's been a lot of seasons in his career where he's been a below league average hitter. And then in 2025, he was exactly league average, which is good. He was a league average hitter, a 100 weighted runs created plus. And there's also no doubt in my mind that even at 37 years old, he'll still be a great defensive player. Last year, playing mostly second base, but occasional third base and shortstop, 91st percentile in outs above average. So he was a great defensive player last year. And again, another guy who doesn't strike out a lot, doesn't whiff a lot. But he's not going to do a ton offensively. But something I actually didn't even notice, I took a look at the offensive numbers. An 879 OPS versus left-handed pitching in 2025 for Miguel Rojas. Do anything close to that in 2026, and we're good. 37 years old, going to be a limited role, but he is going to play a decent amount because they do like Miguel Rojas. If he can bring an 879 OPS versus left-handed pitching again, we're going to see a decent amount of Miguel Rojas in 2026, and he's going to be a valuable player once again. Great defense, hit left-handed pitching. In a bench platoon, versatile role, that's when you're going to have limited playing time and you're kind of a bench player, what you really need to do is just bring me one skill. Play great defense. Hit one side, get on base. Hit left-handed pitching. Hit right-handed pitching. Something like that. All these guys have those tools. Tommy Edman, Miguel Rojas, Ha-Seong Kim. Obviously, if they're able to put a lot of the tools together, they could be a great starting player. But given the fact that they were all similar players, second base, platoon guys, bench players, utility guys, I think Tommy Edman has the most upside with his bat that he could be like a really good second baseman in this league. But all these guys bring a lot of very, very valuable tools, and they just got to be healthy, and they got to be ready to bring little things to the field every day to help the team win, and that goes a long way throughout the entirety of a season. So we'll keep it moving. The next group of guys are all kind of third base guys. We'll start with Max Muncy. What I have on my list at the top is I selfishly want a full season for Max Muncy because the last 2 years he has been very good offensively, and this is a guy who's always hit from day one that he was a Dodger all the way back in 2018. But he's been great the last 2 years. 2024, 852 OPS. 2025, 846 OPS. But both years were cut short because of injuries, dealing with oblique issues, and then he also had the knee issue that he dealt with that collision at third base last July. But like I said, he's been elite the last 2 years. Third base ranks since the start of 2024. 849 OPS, that is third among all third basemen. And again, third base is an elite offensive position. Manny Machado, Nolan Arenado, those guys are a little bit older and of the past, but Jose Ramirez is one of the best players in the game. Alex Bregman, Rafael Devers in those years mostly played third base. This guy is third in OPS since the start of 2024. First in on-base percentage, 360. So we know he might have the best plate discipline in the sport outside of Juan Soto. He is an elite. He is an elite when it comes to not chasing and walking, getting on base. He's never going to be a good defensive third baseman. I've come to grips with that. I came to grips with that a long time ago. Got to keep an eye out for a potential drop-off because he is getting up there in age. Max Muncy is now 35 years old, and obviously he's not the most nimble, athletic guy. But the bat is real. Even with a horrible start to 2025, he put up just crazy numbers. And the Dodgers, it just felt like when he was in there in 2025, it took their lineup to another level. They were way more comfortable, and he brought so much presence to the lineup. And when he was in there and hitting like he did last year, the team was at their best, honestly. It was when he got injured and was out for a few months, that the Dodgers really struggled. So selfishly, I want to see a full season from Muncy. in 2026. I don't know if we'll get it. He is getting up there in age. I don't know if he's going to play a full 150 games. I hope it happens, though, because I think he's going to continue to be great. And, I love Max Muncy. And he's turning into a really all-time Dodger great. He's been around for a little bit now. I think he's the longest tenured Dodger now, him and Kike Hernandez. But obviously Kike gets a little bit weird because he's had a couple times where he was away and on another team. So that's the next guy we'll talk about, Kike Hernandez. Like Tommy Edman, will start the season on the IL. I'll be quick with him. Probably won't see him until June. He had operations on his elbow. I think it was his non-throwing elbow. So we probably won't see him till May, June. Literally don't care what the regular season numbers are from him. He is the ultimate postseason riser. When you look at all-time postseason rankings, there's a lot of great players who have done a lot of great things in the postseason, but none of them are of the ilk of Kike Hernandez in that all the guys you see on postseason leaderboards are great players that have had great regular seasons. Kike is the only guy on there who is like a below league average hitter for his career, or maybe just league average, like not really an all-star, superstar player, but has like all-star, superstar postseason numbers. In his career, in the regular season, he has a 708 OPS, 708 career OPS. In the postseason, 826. That is 16th best all-time minimum 300 plate appearances. 300 plate appearances. So of the all-time great postseason hitters who have got to the postseason a lot, like 300 plate appearances is a lot. So guys like Derek Jeter, a lot of the great Yankees players, Carlos Beltran, David Ortiz, David Freese, like a lot of guys who have been there a lot. He has an 826 OPS, like I said, 16th best. His versatility is great, and he would still actually be a great defender at multiple positions. If he played everyday outfield, I think he'd still be a great outfielder. If he played third base every day, I think he'd be pretty good too. He should return in June, like I said, but I don't care what his regular season numbers are, because he's always going to find a way to be in there in the postseason. Somehow he's going to end up like being in the lineup every day, and he's going to be great, and I don't care. And ever since like 2023, 2024, I've literally said that to myself. Like, I don't care what he does in the regular season. I don't care his age. Get me Kike in the postseason every single year, and he just proves every year that he's amazing. The next guy we'll go to is the biggest surprise in spring training so far, Santiago Espinal, the former All-Star. Yes, former All-Star with the Toronto Blue Jays. Also spent time with the Cincinnati Reds a year ago. 389 batting average in camp with a 1,071 OPS. So he's had an amazing camp, and with a couple of the injuries, like I said, with Tommy Edman, with Kike Hernandez, he gets a shot to start the season with the Dodgers in big league camp, and he's earned it because he's absolutely raked. Third base, second base, infield type, has played some time in the outfield in his career, but he's really like a third baseman who can also play second base. He's never been a guy who strikes out or whiffs a lot, so that's great. He's always been a decent contact bat with solid plate discipline, so that is good from Santiago Espinal. He's not necessarily just a contact, doesn't strike out guy, but like is overly aggressive and chases a lot. He does have great plate discipline, so you can work with something there. Doesn't really have a ton of power. He only has 20 home runs in his entire major league career. But like I said, as a guy who's potential bench role, career 291 average and a career 344 on-base percentage versus left-handed pitching in his career. So he's been a guy who's been able to handle left-handed pitching, which is nice. Again, not a ton of pop, but some good contact and on-base numbers. Maybe a right-handed hitter to get Muncy off his feet against left-handed pitching. Again, I've said this in the past. I've never wanted a full-on platoon with Max Muncy when it comes to left-handed pitching. I think he can handle left-handed pitching. I think he'll strike out a lot against lefties, but he does have decent power. But again, especially against like gnarly left-handed pitchers, like really nasty left-handed pitching, I think there's a chance Santiago Espinal starts the year as a guy to get Muncy off his feet. Maybe they'll start him off as a legit platoon if he continues what he's done in camp into the regular season. There's a chance he does get it's a platoon with him and Muncy. But of course, with a guy like this who's been nothing special throughout his big league career, it's just a wait and see. If he goes back to what he's done mostly throughout his career, at least recently, when Tommy Edman comes back from the IL, he'll be sent to AAA. I don't know if he has any options left, or he'll just be DFA'd. But if he can prove that he can continue to play well, handle left-handed pitching, maybe he'll be limited to a decent bench role. And he's also been a very good defender in the past at multiple infield spots, like I said. So that's another plus. He can play a good third base. He can play a good second base. So congratulations to him. Nobody would have thought that he would be get a chance to be on the big league roster, and that's what he's going to get. So we'll keep it going. Maybe the biggest thing, maybe the most important thing to keep an eye on in 2026, it's either this guy or Roki Sasaki. It's Mookie Betts. Yes. Like I said, maybe the biggest thing to keep an eye on all season, it will be Mookie Betts and what he does offensively. Can Mookie Betts bounce back offensively, and to what level? Okay? Because obviously Mookie Betts has had the highest of highs and has had the highest of ceilings that you can have. A former MVP. I think he's like an 8 or 9 time All-Star. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame someday. He's won a batting title. He has 291 home runs in his career, so we'll see Mookie get to that 300 number. Obviously, you look at his career averages: a 290 career hitter, 369 on base, elite, 512 slug, that's great, 881 OPS. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame someday, and he's been great. But we all know his story in 2025. I don't need to regurgitate it. He was basically a league average hitter, and it was the most we've ever seen him struggle in his career. So I did this little bit of a breakdown with Tanner Scott and with Blake Trinan in my last podcast, and I've given you guys a lot of numbers about all these guys. But why did Mookie Betts struggle last year? What can he do to improve and kind of get back to what he's done? He still has an elite process at the plate. Okay, he still is a guy with great chase percentage, 89th percentile in chase rate, and he doesn't swing and miss a lot. 90th percentile in whiff rate, 98th percentile in K rate. So he literally does not strike out, does not swing and miss, and doesn't chase pitches out of the zone. That's a great start to be a really good big league hitter. He makes a ton of contact, doesn't strike out, doesn't whiff. The walk numbers did drop off a little bit last year, but they were still above league average, 9.2% walk rate. I think those will go back up this year. When it comes to Mookie Betts, it is all about the hard hit numbers, the barrel numbers, and it also is about what he does against breaking balls. So let me give you some numbers. His barrel percentage over the last 3 years, 2023 was an elite year for him. He was second in the MVP to Ronald Acuna, and even though Ronald Acuna went 40-70, which is historic, Mookie Betts still had a real shot to win the award. That's how good he was. Barrel percentage in 2023, 12.4. All right, that's great. 2024, 6%, so it was cut in half. 2025, 5.5. So every year, he's had a big decline in his barrel percentage. Okay. Now, his batting average versus some individual pitches. All right, and last year, he had a batting average. He's still a great fastball hitter. So 327 against four-seam fastballs, 290 against sinkers. But against sliders and curveballs, 212 sliders, 143 against curveballs. So that is where it all piles up for Mookie. He's never going to be a guy who has like the craziest average exit velocity numbers because he's not a big guy. When you're 5'9", 180 pounds, you're not going to be hitting the ball as hard as Aaron Judge, Juan Soto, Giancarlo Stanton, Shohei Ohtani, all those kind of guys, Ronald Acuna. But the consistency at which you barrel the ball up and hit the ball hard can be increased. All right, so it's all about, can Mookie make more hard contact and more barrels in 2026? And can he do better against off-speed pitches and breaking balls? Because he's always going to be a great fastball hitter. because he makes a lot of contact. He's going to be able to handle the fastball. Can he just increase the numbers against breaking balls? You don't have to be elite. You don't have to be the best breaking ball hitter in the game, but you can't be well under 200 against curveballs. All right, so with Mookie, it's his barrel percentage. Can he get that number back up 7, 8, 9%? It doesn't have to be 12.4 like it was in 2023. Can he get that number back up, and can he improve against breaking balls? We'll see. I believe Mookie Betts is going to bounce back. Now, like I said earlier, to what level? That's the question. Because obviously the standards have been lowered a little bit. I think that Mookie, a great spot for him would be like an 830 to 845 OPS. I think if Mookie can get back to hitting 25 home runs with an OPS of, let's say, 839, let's say an on-base percentage of 347, and he hits about 285. That's a great bounce-back season. That would have a great feel to him, and that would feel much more. It still wouldn't be fully what he used to be, but it would be much more in line with what he's done in his career. And if you pair that, the last thing I have on Mookie is if you pair that with what he did defensively last year as a shortstop, he could be a top 3 shortstop in the game. All right? Because he was elite defensively last year. There's no way to cut it. And so we'll see what Mookie does. Again, I think that him playing a great shortstop last year proves to him that he doesn't have to necessarily worry about putting in so much work to be a great shortstop. I think that he feels more comfortable with that, and right now he can put all his focus and all his work into getting that bat back to what it was. He's played a limited sample size in spring so far, but he's looked good. So I'm excited for a bounce-back season for Mookie Betts. We'll go to another guy who is looking to have somewhat of a bounce-back season, Teoscar Hernandez. Yes, Teoscar, fan favorite. So far in his Dodger career, it's been a really solid contract for the Dodgers. We'll see where it goes from here. He is another guy that is sneaky up there in age, 33 years old. Now, the first thing with Teoscar, he's came into spring in much better shape than he was a year ago, and it's paid off so far, and he's raking. 3 home runs with a 1251 OPS. Again, spring training numbers don't matter for a lot of guys. It really only matters for the certain guys that are trying to make teams, make starting spots, bench roles. So it doesn't necessarily mean Teoscar is going to have a crazy year. But he lost the weight. He's in better shape, and it's paid off early on in camp. Similar to Tom Yedman, what he needs to do and get back to is crushing left-handed pitching. So in his career, he has an OPS of 878 against left-handed pitching. That's great. In 2024, it was 931. He absolutely smoked left-handed pitching his first year with the Dodgers. 2025, 752. So it went down a lot. Now, he is still a great power hitter, 25 home runs. The last thing he needs to do is he needs to increase the on-base a little. He's never going to be a big on-base guy like Max Muncy or Mookie Betts or a lot of those guys who have great plate discipline. He's not that. All right? He was in the 8th percentile in whiff percentage, 29th percentile in K percentage, and in the 7th percentile in walk rate. So he doesn't walk. He strikes out a lot, and he also chases. He doesn't have good plate discipline. So he's never going to be a big on-base guy. But being below 300 is not good enough. That's almost unacceptable. 339 on base in 2024 is very good. All right, 339 is very doable, especially when you have an OPS of 840, especially when you hit 33 home runs. If he increases his on base to something over 300, he'll get that OPS back in the 800s, and he'll be back to looking like the Teoscar we saw in 2024. I really feel great that he's going to have a good year because his first year with the Dodgers was amazing. He started off 2025 really, really good. And then he got hurt, and he dealt with a groin hamstring injury. And I think he came back a little bit too early, actually. And I think that kind of messed him up. And then he also had the pressure of, like, he's horrible in right field. So getting out of right field should help, maybe, because he's still going to be bad in left field. But I think it takes a lot of focus off how bad he was. And another guy like Mookie that I think is he's gonna have a great season in 2026. I firmly believe he's gonna be very good, and especially because he's gonna be hitting like 6th or 7th in the lineup. Tasker Hernandez hitting 7th in any lineup, that's gonna be great. It's only gonna lead to guys on base in front of him, more RBI opportunities, and I think he's gonna have a great year. So the next guy will go to Alex Call. I'll be quick with Alex Call. Great bench guy to have. He's gonna be. He's not really gonna be any kind of platoon hitter. He's gonna be a straight bench guy. But like I said, solid bench guy. Another guy who hits left-handed pitching well. He has elite plate discipline. Alex Call actually has some of the best plate discipline in the game. But he has no pop. He is not a power hitter. But he's not going to strike out. Again, when you're talking about bench players, what I need you to bring to the conversation is a tool, a skill. All right, he can play good defense, he can run, and he's not going to chase pitches out of the zone. So when you need a late pinch hit guy, and Alex Call is going to be one of those guys who's going to pinch hit a lot for this team. You feel good that he's not going to swing and miss, and he's not going to chase pitches out of the zone, and he can handle left-handed pitching. So great bench guy to have. So we'll keep it going to the final two guys, the center fielder and the right fielder, Andy Pages. So Andy Pages, he has quickly become one of my favorite players. It's always fun when you see homegrown guys who have a little bit of hype around them, and it's always great when you see it work out and they it comes to fruition and they become really good players. So Andy Pages, he's getting ready for his age 25 season, his third big league season. What I have for Andy Pages, continue the steady improvement at the big league level. Okay, in 2024, a 712 OPS, that's a solid rookie season, above league average. 2025, a 774 OPS. 2026, we'll see. I would love to see him get that OPS into the 790s, maybe even the 800s. He had an OPS in the 800s for a lot last year, but it dropped down. It dropped down the final 2 months of the year. What I have for Andy Pages, improve the plate discipline and swing decisions. Improve the swing decisions and the plate discipline a little bit, and we're talking about a top 3 center fielder potentially. All right, I know that was a mouthful. If he can improve his plate discipline, we are looking at a potential top 3 center fielder. When you consider that his power potential, his athletic ability, his great defense, if he can improve the plate discipline, another guy who had a very low on base, 313 on base, but again, that was an improvement from his rookie year at 305. If he can improve his chase numbers and his plate discipline, if he can walk a little bit more, we're looking at a really, really good player. I would like to see him improve some of his barrel numbers and hard hit numbers because he was below league average with his barrel rate and his hard hit rate, which is a little bit surprising because earlier in his career he looked like a guy that was going to be like a big power guy with strikeout numbers. And last year he didn't swing and miss a ton, but he didn't have great barrel rates. So it leaves me a little pause for concern that we could see a little bit of regression. But that's why the on-base and the walk numbers have to get a little bit better because that will help negate some of those numbers. So if he can improve that stuff, we're looking at a really scary number, really scary player. He's a very talented guy. He's already hit 40 home runs in his young big league career. And then the last thing I have is just continue to improve the valuable defense. Continue that valuable defense that we saw in 2025 because he was very great defensively. 97th percentile and outs above average. He has an elite arm strength. And so I like Andy Pages, and I hope the bat continues the steady improvement. The last guy we will talk about, I saved it for last, and it's also because he's just a right fielder, and that comes last on the depth chart. The newest Dodger, the most exciting new guy to look forward to in 2026, Kyle Tucker. So I'll be honest, man. I have big expectations for Kyle Tucker in 2026. What I have on my computer here is maybe top 5 in MVP. Maybe. I don't think it's a stretch to put that possibility on him. We might see 40 home runs from Kyle Tucker. All right. Now, it's all about the injuries because the last 2 years we have seen some injuries from Kyle Tucker that have kind of robbed him from some full seasons. But he is a little bit of an underrated player because he's not very flashy. He's very quiet. He's been on a lot of teams where he isn't necessarily the face of the team. It's going to be the same here with the Dodgers, obviously. But if you look at his numbers, man, there are not many hitters that are better than him. My reasoning for why I think he's going to be so good is that he has never been in a lineup like this. He is going to be in a lineup that is protected. He's going to be hitting behind Shohei Ohtani, all right? So he's going to get a lot of opportunities with guys pitching around Shohei to get to him. And then he's going to have Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman behind him, as well as, obviously Muncy, Will Smith. I just think that he has never been in a lineup like this. Playing with the Dodgers, if he is healthy for a full season, we might see some gnarly numbers from Kyle Tucker. We might see the 2024 version that only got to play like half a season. 408 on base, 585 slug, 993 OPS, 23 home runs, and only 339 plate appearances. We might see those numbers from Kyle Tucker. I am feeling good that we're going to get a big season from him, and that's why I said I don't think he'll finish top 3 in MVP, but top 5. Don't be surprised. That's all I'm saying. Don't be surprised. He is going to put up some great numbers, and I think that we're going to look back at that at 2025 or 2026, and I think he's going to be this Dodgers' second best player. Better than Mookie Betts, better than Freddie Freeman, better than Yamamoto. I think he's going to be their second best player. The last thing I would have for him is, can the Dodgers help his defense? Because it's dropped off the last couple of years. He still has a very good arm, but they have been known to help improve guys' defense. Like Andy Paz was a guy who looked confused out there at times. He was great defensively last year. I think that would be one question: is can they help his defense? I don't want him to be like a poor defensive right fielder. Again, it's not going to matter much because of what he's going to bring offensively, but I would like to see his defense improve, and can the Dodgers get that out of him? We'll see. It's going to be a fun year from Kyle Tucker. I think that a lot of Dodger fans are going to fall in love with how good of a player he's going to be. And I think a lot of Dodger fans, honestly, are going to be surprised. Not that Dodger fans are like casuals, but I just think that they're going to be surprised, like, wow, this guy is amazing. And I am ready for the Kyle Tucker just top 5 MVP season. I'm going to be saying it all year. Kyle Tucker, top 5 at MVP. You heard it here first. Talking Blue Pod. That is all I have for you guys today. That is my thoughts on the Dodgers full roster. I know I didn't talk about a couple guys like Alex Freeland. There were a couple other guys. This is what it looks like is going to be the opening day roster. Of course, there will be injuries all throughout the season like there is with every team and every season, and we'll see guys that the Dodgers sign. I mean, think about last year. We saw, Buddy Kennedy. There were other guys, that got brought to the team. So you never know what's in store for a full season. This won't be the full roster of players that we see in 2026, but these are the main guys. These are going to be the guys that are going to lead us to a potential three-peat. We'll see about all that. I hope you guys enjoyed. Those are my thoughts. These will be one of my last pods, honestly, before opening day starts. So, which will be a week from today. I'm going to try to get in another pod or two, so we'll see. But spring training is getting wrapped up. Guys are getting ready. In a couple days, the Dodgers will head to L.A. I forget if it'll be in Dodger Stadium or I guess every year it's in Angels Stadium and Dodger Stadium. But we're going to get ready for the Freeway Series. Yamamoto was announced the opening day starter. No surprise there. Looking to just get out of camp healthy. There's only really a couple injuries. Obviously, we know the Dodgers. They have this team has all the potential in the world. The last couple years with a lot of the injuries it's really hampered the Dodgers from getting like those crazy win totals that we saw a few years ago, 100+ wins. I think they won 100. No, I think they won 98 in 2024. Last year, I think they only won 92 or 93. This team, I feel good that we're going to get to see a 100-win team again, but I'm done predicting like the crazy win totals, like 106, 109, 110. I don't think those days are done, but until we get like a full healthy season from a lot of guys, I just think the Dodgers are like not concerned about winning, breaking the win record total. I think they're really just focused on getting to the postseason healthy and doing whatever it takes to win those 12, 13, 11 games to win another World Series. So I feel good that we're going to get a 100-win season, but not much more than that. I don't think we're going to get much more than 102, 103 wins. But this team has all the potential in the world. You guys know it. I think this lineup's going to be crazy because, again, I think Shohei's going to win his 5th MVP. I think that Kyle Tucker, I think we're going to maybe see the top 5 MVP. Mookie Betts is going to bounce back. They got all the pieces to be an elite team in 2026. They're the best team in baseball on paper. And we know this team, with the way the organization runs, all the money they've put into this team, all the great players they've brought in, all the chips they've put in this era that we're currently in. In this time that we're in, they've put all the chips in to win as many championships as possible. And we're getting ready to run off. We're getting ready to set off another year where they are the favorites to win it all again. They're going to have as good a shot as anyone to win the World Series again. And just like last year's mission was to go back-to-back, this year's mission, win 3 in a row. It's going to be very difficult. All the odds will be stacked against them because the last team to do that was the Yankees. They're kind of chasing the ghost of that Yankees team with a lot of things they've done the last few years. And, those are my thoughts on this team. It's going to be a fun year. I can't wait to break it down every day. Like I said, we got a ton of exciting things going on with Talking Blue. I'm going to be starting a new podcast in a couple of days. Keep an eye out for that. Thank you guys so much for listening. As always, you can get this podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on all social media at Talking Blue Pod. You can follow myself at Talking Blue Nick on X. Keep it locked. I hope you guys are excited. Opening day is in a week from today. Thank you guys so much for listening. We will see you soon on Talking Blue.